All right, so this is probably a little bit new part of my channel. Not sure how far I'm going to go with it. Simply because my filming skills are already not that great, and filming fish tanks is very difficult to get any kind of good detail on them. I feel is very difficult, but I wanted to comment and talk about my experiences with the father fish method, because I've seen both pro and con detractors of it, and I've seen where some people have had some very traumatic, bad experiences with it. Mine is somewhere in between. So just a little introduction. I have been in the aquarium hobby since the early 90s, so quite a few years. I've had experience with keeping all kinds of fish, from goldfish to live bearers to exotic, exotic wild type betas. I have bred many different kinds of fish, including betas, and so I have a good bit of knowledge and experience in the hobby. I'm on a couple of Facebook fish groups, and it amused me one time. Actually, kind of pissed me off, but somebody was putting up one of their fish for adoption. And I looked and I was like, okay, I can take this fish. And she asks me what kind of fish I have, and then proceeds to screenshot a Google AI entry about the fish, saying that her fish was not compatible with the ones I had. And it's like, really? Yeah, you don't have enough experience to really talk to me like that. Google AI does not know everything. In fact, Google AI doesn't know very much about the fish hobby. When you first get into fish hobby, and I was this way, all my tanks were perfectly clean. I went with whatever the shops told me would go together as far as fish goes. Still had some pretty bad experiences. There are fish out there that just can't get along with anybody else, any of their tank mates. So I mean, it happens. Through experience, you learn these things. Try not to tell other experienced aquarists what they can do with fish, because they probably already know. But anyways, getting back to the subject, over the course of time, I went from super clean tanks, lots of filtration, and I have slowly gone towards more natural tanks, with lots of vegetation, plants. Now, I love planted tanks. I don't use CO2. I think it just doesn't do right. Like I said, I'm more into the natural tanks, so no CO2, but lots of plants, lots of hardy plants that can grow under whatever conditions I have them in. I've learned to use driftwood and other pieces of wood. It doesn't have to be driftwood, it needs to be hardwood. I have taken branches right out of the woods. Now it can't be really rotted stuff. It needs to be greener wood. But I mean, I've taken branches out of the woods that worked just fine. I've tried to use moss. I don't really have a good experience with Java moss. It tends to go away with me. It tends to melt away and do nothing. But I got a hold of some Christmas moss, and that stuff really has taken hold, and it likes to attach itself to wood, and I really like that. I've got it all in all of my tanks. So anyways, after this last time of getting back into the hobby, I've been in and out of it, just simply because of my situation. Sometimes I wasn't able to, we moved a lot. I was military, and then just trying to keep a steady job. We've moved quite a few times, and many times we've had to just get rid of everything when we moved. So this last time I learned about on YouTube about the father fish method, which is very controversial. Basically, he has this thing where you take a jar. It's called a resurrection jar. You go to your local body of water, whether it's a stream or a lake or a pond. You get a little bit of stuff from that body of water, from the bottom, from vegetation, and water. And you set that jar aside. You can't completely seal it because it does need to breathe. But you observe it for 30 days. If you find anything harmful to your fish, you remove it, and then you put it in your tank. And basically, it jump starts the biodiversity in your tank. I was dubious of it. I did want some more biodiversity in my tanks. At one point I got into having ponds in my backyard, and I really saw the benefit to the fish of having a lot of critters in the water, like scuds and worms and things like that. They really enjoy that. They're happier fish than just having flake food all the time. Back in the day, it was easy to get black worms for my fish. It's not so easy now. And like this last time, I actually, my boys are quite the woods explorers, and they have found tubifex worms in the wild for me to feed my fish, and that's been a real boon. But anyways, this method is very controversial because of potentially harmful things that can go into your tank. The two that come to mind the most, and the ones that happened to me, is leeches and dragonfly larvae. Now, I believe I already had the dragonfly larvae. I have a piece of driftwood, I don't know if you can see back here, that has been in one of my ponds several times, and I had to pull it out to clean something. I forget what it was. Oh, I had to install this this light, and so where was I? Okay, I had to pull it out, and actually, when I was pulling it out, a couple of dragonfly larvae dropped on the floor. A lot of people would freak out about that. However, the thing about dragonfly larvae is we didn't have very much in the first place. It was a rare time dragonfly ever visited our pond back there. They can't, they can eat fish. They can't eat very many of them. Not if you don't have very many of them. So I just took the dragonfly larvae, threw them in my front pond, and went about my business. And the same thing with the leeches. When when I did the father fish method, I had about 3 or 4 jars, and I observed them for a whole month. I didn't see very much in there. That really, not very much moved around in those jars. One of them developed a really bad odor. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I poured it out. But the other 3 looked good. The only thing I ever found in there that moved around was some bladder snails. That was it for 30 days. Well, I mixed them together. I put a little bit in each of my tanks, and a lot changed at one time. I will say that it was actually beneficial for my tanks. I was having a real problem with the organic matter in our tanks. I've found that, and I've been seeing this since about the early 2000s, is that the water we get from the tap is already coming with nitrates in it. Now I use tap water because it's got minerals in it that these tanks need. The snails need those minerals, the fish need those minerals, the plants need those minerals, but that was one of the things I had been fighting. And to start with, I just went with bigger filters. And I actually got into fluidized sand bed filters, and that did help a bit, but what really made the difference as far as nitrates go was this father fish method. Now I had a bunch of tanks when I was in Atlanta about 6 or 7 years ago, and I think I introduced something to my tanks because my kids, like I said, they're good explorers. My oldest son found some plants that were aquatic in a holding pond in Atlanta, and I introduced them to my tanks, and there again I did have some problems. Oh God, what was it that plagued my tanks for a while? Oh, I'd have to research it, but these little plant things that attach themselves to the side of the tank, and they can kill your shrimp. At the moment, I cannot remember. I'm 50 years old, 55 years old. I forget these things. But I fought those things for a while and finally figured out to use baby fish, baby gouramis to eat them, and also would mechanically remove them, and finally got rid of them. But anyways, the change is dramatic. I mean, within a day, I was not fighting algae in my tank that bad. I mean, I was cleaning these tanks once a week, and I mean, they were just getting algae on the front glass. I was scrubbing them. I had a scrubber right here. I had a scraper. I would scrub, and I would do massive water changes, and within a day, that all went away. I mean, I rarely touch my tanks as far as algae goes. I might scrape a little bit of algae off the front every maybe month. And it was really bad. I have a 6-gallon in the kitchen up on the counter. That one was the worst. I was doing massive water changes and scraping algae off once a week, and I mean, it would just get so bad you couldn't hardly see in it. That all went away, and for that, I believe it's worth it. But like I said, dragonfly larvae showed up on that, and then those could have already been there. because like I said, that had been in my pond a few times. But I did get leeches, and I know another YouTuber was talking about how the leeches destroyed one of his tanks that was full of shrimp. I did not have that problem, and I did not freak out when I saw leeches. They basically attach themselves to anything hard in your tank, and they stretch themselves out and try to feel around for any victim. And it was easy to spot them. I have some tweezers that are hard that I removed them mechanically with. I just kept removing them every time I saw them. And after a while, I didn't see them anymore. Now, only 2 of the tanks got them. One of my 10 gallons back here that has shrimp in it, and that was the most concerning. And then this 55, however, the thing about the 55 is that I keep my fish hungry. A lot of people overfeed their fish. I mean, that's a common aquarium hobby mistake. But fish in the wild don't get near the amount of food that we feed them in captivity. And so I kind of keep mine on the hungry side. And my fish ate the leeches in here. I would see them every once in a while, and then they would disappear because I watched, especially my flagfish. They will hunt them down because they're sitting there flagellating around, and they will eat them. They will pick them right off the side of the aquarium. So I've stopped worrying about it. Now I do have a problem with hair algae in all my tanks. It's been there forever. I don't know how it was introduced. It's one of the reasons why I got into flagfish, is that if you keep them hungry, they will eat hair algae. And I used to transfer them around to different tanks to try to keep the hair algae down, but now that I have shrimp, I can't do that. So what I do is just mechanically pull it out of the other tanks and put them in this tank where my flagfish are, and they eat it. They don't immediately go after it, but it disappears after a day. If you have a hair algae problem and you don't have shrimp, I would highly recommend using flagfish. My only thing is, like with my experience, when I first got into flagfish, I fed them too much, and I also had them in a tank with little carnivores, and so I was constantly feeding that tank live foods, and they stopped eating the hair algae immediately. I mean, they won't touch it if they're getting a lot of live foods. If you keep them hungry, they will mow it all down. There's no, other than the stuff that I mechanically remove and drop in there, there is no hair algae in this tank at all. So that was what I wanted to go over with you. The leeches did not affect the population of my shrimp tank. I have a bunch of baby shrimp right now, just all over the place in my shrimp tank. All of the adults look healthy, happy. And like I said, after about a month of mechanically removing the leeches, they were gone. I've not seen another one, and it's not like they hide or anything. I mean, they do attach themselves to things that, you know, it's hard to detect them, but especially at night, they will come out. They kind of retract into this little thing that looks a lot like a snail without a shell. just stuck to the side of the glass. But at night and early morning and the evening, they will shoot themselves out, and they will flagellate around trying to grab onto anything. And so it's easy. I mean, if you're just observant, you will see them. They and you just remove them with a pair of tweezers. Now I didn't have any luck with my. I have some soft jaw tweezers, but these are very hard. They have a little bit of knurling to them. I mean, they grab right on and pull them off. So if you want to try that, I mean, I believe it was worth it. It's not, now I'm not going to introduce any other resurrection jars. This is it right now for these tanks, because I mean, it had the desired effect. I rarely have to clean these tanks. I don't know what kind of bacteria or little critter was introduced, but it did a number on my nitrates, big time, to the point where I don't even change water anymore. I do not do water changes. There's no reason to, because it just introduces more nitrates to the system. Why do that? So it dealt with my nitrate problems. Now, as far as minerals go, I do introduce gravel and real rock, real gravel, not that coated stuff that a lot of that you can find in like Walmart or whatever in the pet section. You need real gravel. I tend to use real sand as well, not any coated stuff or whatever. I use play sand, and also there is a sand that is used for sandblasting that you can get from Ace Hardware or Tractor Supply that works really good. It's black. But I'm gonna pick this thing up and show you my tanks, because this 55, I'm actually amazed that it is doing as well as it is because of what I did, and I will explain that to you in a moment. I had this tank as a container for our crickets. We have a beardy. We also have a couple of frogs. And back in the day, when I had chameleons, we actually set up a 55-gallon tank with soil and grass and fluorescent lights, and they actually bred themselves, which was necessary because we were in Alaska and it was difficult to get crickets. I tried it this time around and it flopped very badly. What happened was I had introduced springtails to try to kind of clean up some of the mung that happens in the bottom of a cricket container, and the springtails multiplied so rapidly and so much that they actually started to eat the crickets alive. They were coated on everything, and the crickets just could not live. And so I couldn't get rid of them. So I just kind of changed gears, and instead of cleaning everything out and getting new substrate, I just filled the thing with water and started prepping it to become an aquarium. So the substrate was play sand. It was half play sand and half coconut fiber. And as you can see, there is a ton of that coconut fiber all in this. And you want to talk about a dark tank. When I first set it up, the tannins were just off the chart. However, I continued. It was very difficult to establish plants because there was just not enough light. I had to get some serious spotlights and stuff to really get light into this tank. And at one point, behind the tank, I had a fluorescent light hanging out back there to just try to get light into this tank. So I was really fighting the amount of organic matter that was in this tank, and the resurrection jar, whatever it introduced, made all the difference. I hardly have to clean it now because there's so much particulate matter in the water. I put this hang-on back filter with floss in it, and I change that floss almost every day to try to polish that water and get rid of some of the organic matter. But it's amazing just how well this thing is doing considering how it started. And the fish are happy. I've got flagfish in there somewhere. They're kind of shy, but all these live bearers, and look at that guy. They are just doing well. So this is one of my 10 gallons. This is my baby grow out tank. In the spring, I'm going to come up with a bigger pond out back, and all these baby platies are going out, plus all these live bearers that I have in here. I've got a number of different live bearers. I think I have fancy and Endler's guppies. I have mosquito fish, and then my platies. And they're all going out to the pond when it gets warm enough. This is my shrimp tank. As you can see, there's a lot of busy going on in there. I mean, I pretty much took a branch out of the woods and put it in there, and then I've just got plants everywhere. I'm sure they are nice and comfy in there, and I mean, there is baby shrimp everywhere. You can see that right there. That's a baby shrimp. There are baby shrimp all in this tank. So they are nice and comfy and happy. I do minimum filtration, mostly sponge filters. I don't feel the need to have a lot of filtration anymore because of how natural my tanks are. You can see there I use real rock. I also crush up eggshells from time to time and put them in these tanks because, like I said, the minerals are necessary for the water. The fish need it, the shrimp need it, the snails need it, and the plants need it. So I've also got some aragonite sand or gravel that I have put in there that helps keep the water a little bit harder. But that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about, is the father fish method and my experiences with it. And I believe it's beneficial. You may not. You may not agree with it. And, you know, there's people that are just, you know, there are people on YouTube and on the internet that are I mean, it's a love or hate relationship with it. Some people are very adamant against it, and some people are very adamant for it. And I'm somewhere in between because, like I said, I had a somewhat bad experience simply because the leeches showed up. However, the leeches were not as bad as I expected them to be. I thought my shrimp population was in real trouble in this tank, and it really has not borne out to be that way. And I'm glad I didn't just freak out and clean everything out and start over. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and peace out. God bless you. Thank you.